I try to keep it cool, but all these women trying to test me. Your man is a lame and ain't no way that he could best me. The way that I be killing it, I swear they should arrest me or check me or mess around and die trying.
With me today are my fellow misfits, Tim Stevens, Samuel Hernandez, Matt Campisi. I am Jerry Black. Let's get into it. So today's topic is humor and creativity in IT. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we can use humor to stimulate creativity, which I think is, actually is very helpful in problem solving. And so I kind of go back to in IT, we are very good at solving problems. We are very good at, or I think we all have a pretty good sense of humor. Sometimes it can be dark, but how do we pull that sense of humor out of people so that when they come into a meeting and we are trying to problem solve, they feel comfortable sort of using that. The premise of IT Misfits and even this podcast is really that comedy can help you with communication, but I think it's a really interesting thought to say, but comedy can also help you with creativity, which can help you with problem solving, which is a huge part of everything that we do in IT. So we're going to go around the table real quick and say, Tim, do you have something you want to share or talk about on that topic?
How comedy can stimulate more creativity at work?
Yep.
Is that really the premise? Okay.
Somebody read the show notes.
What's that?
Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey, we spent the first 30 minutes cameras, so I don't want to hear it. And we forgot the motivational quote.
Oh, I did it. Oh, man.
I do that?
All right, we're going to edit.
Let me start with that.
I just want to
go back and edit all this.
There you go.
No, don't edit it.
All right,
go ahead.
There's a point in every man's life where he is figuratively tapped on the shoulder and he's offered to do something special. What a shame it would be if in that moment he's unprepared and not confident.
Dang, that was deep.
Wow.
That hit.
Whose is that?
No,
Oh my god! Really?
I'll cut that out. I'll cut it out.
Oh my Lord!
That's good,
It was SpongeBob. I don't remember. Talmadge thing. I don't know. I'll look at it from a perspective of joke writing, right? If you want to do any type of construction of jokes, right? One of the concepts is called redefinitions and puns, right? So you take a word that's not necessarily obscure and you take the meaning of the word and you flip it around or you twist it. And I'll give you an example here to kind of put it into context. Two hydrogen atoms are talking. One says, "I think I've lost an electron." The other asks, "Are you sure?" And the first replies, "Yes, I'm positive." So this is from a book that I'm reading, The Serious Guide to Joke Writing, How to Say Something Funny About Anything. And, when you bring this into work, this kind of way of thinking, I would say that the way it helps me, especially on the architecture and the design side and engineering, is that there is a level of creativityness that goes into designing a solution, right? You have to get creative, whether it's to overcome budget constraints, whether it's for timing, whether it's to overcome timing constraints or introduce some type of automation or efficiency. So looking at everything through just a clear lens or looking at one-dimensional, you're going to get the same results every time, right? If you just follow the book answer to design something or deploy something or roll it out. But if you take it in a kind of a perspective of, I'm going to make this, I'm going to put some creativity into it, I'm going to look at it a different way. You're kind of taking that way of thinking when you're constructing jokes, and you're saying, I'm going to use almost a out of the box type of thinking to get done what I need to get done.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, how about yourself?
I'm going to take another interesting angle and just the execution, thinking about IT. So this stand-up is the idea of agile, right? You do a daily stand-up, you hold people accountable, you make sure the project's moving along so you can meet your sprint deadlines. The other thing that, if done well with teams, when you're trying to pull ideas together, you're generally speaking the loudest person, or maybe the boss lady or boss man gets an unfair, call it, influence on the decision. So you use post-it notes is a great trick, right? You ask everyone, questions, everyone gets right post-it notes, everyone goes to the board, and now you're basically, the loudest person, the introvert, the extrovert, the boss person doesn't have an unfair share because everything's up there. So I love this, call it, tactic of bringing people together, getting opinions, feedback, and things of that sort. But it's a great opportunity for comedy because, people's handwriting and people's demeanor when you get them out of their desk and hiding behind their iPhone or hiding behind their laptop is great opportunity for humor. So I find myself when, again, you're using these post-it notes to get creativity, you're trying to get ideas out. So by, the very act of standing up and using the post-it notes, but in that act also pointing out oddities of people's handwriting, oddities of, people's spacing, how they're standing in the room, how they're either running to the board, not running to the board. I mean, to me, when I'm in those meetings, I just feel like it's comedy gold. And it helps, in my opinion, that the laugh, the giggle, the making fun of at everyone's expense, including my own, because I'm really good at self-deprecation humor, is bringing to that point, Joe, you're bringing up, is it spurs creativity, it lessens people's, I think, reluctance to maybe share or think outside the box.
I like that. And Samuel, how about yourself?
Well, now you got the two cameras going, you don't have audio.
I don't know how to use mute though. I got two cameras. I don't know how to use mute.
You're triple muted. You're muted on all cameras.
That was a double mute joke, right?
Yeah.
I love, so in situations where we're trying to come up with a creative idea, problem solving, whatever, and everyone's just kind of like stagnated, I just bring up a really bad idea. Why don't we do this? And it's just like, no, that's dumb. Like that will never work. Right. And it's funny. It's like, dude, what the heck are you thinking, Samuel? Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay, but let's work through that stupid idea.
Okay.
Right. Well, if we did this, we did that. Like maybe in some like alternate universe that might actually work. It gets people kind of laughing and giggling. It's also that self-deprecation again, because people I think are afraid of rejection or embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we got jaywalkers to stop jaywalking, because way back when in the 20s, like calling someone a jay was basically calling them a fool, right?
Ooh.
And so when vehicles were first created and you had your your stop signs, they had walk don't walk, and people were ignoring it because they were used to horses. Horses would stop, and so they were getting killed. They were getting run over by cars. And so they by threat of law, they said, hey, we're going to give you a ticket. If you jaywalk, nobody cared. But they came up with a campaign of like, oh, we're going to call it jaywalking. And they had all these clowns and stuff walking around acting like fools, not paying attention to the signs. And people didn't want to be referred to as or associated as being a J. So they started following the walk signs. And so if you can get people to be unafraid of being embarrassed or ridiculed or whatever by coming up with a really bad idea that's obviously not going to work, that's hopefully somewhat funny, it just kind of it breaks the ice. So like, oh my gosh, that'll never work, but here's another stupid idea, and it's a real idea, right? It starts to flow, especially when you force them to work. No, I want you to work through my stupid idea. Like, how can we make this dumb thing work, and everyone kind of laughs, jokes around or whatever, and then you get the creative juices flowing and things happen.
Interesting. All right.
Terrible idea, Samuel. Terrible. I can't believe you used your 1 minute for that idea.
I also thought today, obviously the best way for anybody to get humor that they want to share throughout their day or share in meetings is to come to our podcast, to come to one of our shows, something along those lines. But let's just pretend that you wanted to look elsewhere. There's actually a couple of places that you can just sort of go look. And obviously you can go look on Google and look up a couple of quips and stuff like that. I always do recommend that you change them a little bit for your situation or something along those lines. Don't just go with the, hey, I heard this joke, unless it's a really good dad joke. But on top of that, there is a website called laughlab.com. And it's an English website or a company. And there's a lot of, it's not just this. But in particular, laughlab.com, they did a study. They actually did a breakdown of a study. Let's find the funniest joke in the world. And then people upvoted and downvoted and that sort of deal. And it was 40,000 votes or whatever. Anyways, the funniest joke that they have is two guys went hunting and one of them had a heart attack and fell over. And the other one calls 911 and says, "Oh my God, my friend is dead. Well, I don't know what I should do." And the 911 operator says, "Well, first, let's make sure he's dead." So the guy says, "Okay." Phone goes quiet. Then there's bam, bam, bam. She picks the phone back up and goes, "Okay, now what?" I thought that was pretty darn good. Pretty darn good joke. And they said it got the most upvotes. So anyways, go to Laugh Lab if you want to see. They have like the top 1,000 jokes that were voted by people, etc. Again, they are what they are as far as some of them are kind of one-liners and that sort of deal. Also, interestingly enough, the jokes written by a computer. Now, this was a while back, but they had computer write jokes, and the jokes written by a computer were generally the lowest rated of the comedy. So we've got at least another week or two before AI takes that job away from us as well. All right, so let's go with some open source comedy, and let's start today. We ended with Samuel last time, so let's start today with Samuel.
So I'm gonna keep working through my my IT support joke. And see if I can polish it up. You gave me some feedback last time. So I do have another joke that I read once that I thought was really funny that I'll share with you guys later. But let's see if I can get into like theater mode. IT support. So we've all called IT support, right? And some of us had good experiences, some have really bad experiences. But I think there's an experience that we can all kind of relate to. And it's when we call into support, and the guy who answers the phone, his name is Boob. His name is not Boob. Everybody knows that his name is not Boob. It's Bob. I think he's trying to say Bob, right? So I call in, and I'm like, "Hello, I'm having an issue with my desktop." The guy says, "Hello, my name is Boob. What is your name?" I say, "My name is Samuel." "Samuel, nice to meet you." No. Samuel. "Samuel, nice to meet you. What is the problem?" Like, whatever, not important, right? But Boo, what's your real name, bro? Can I just, out of respect, can I just call you by your real name? "My name is Deepak." "Oh, nice to meet you, Deepak." Great. Start working through the stuff. Guy has no idea what the heck he's talking about, right? So I go, "Hey, man, like, no disrespect, but can you escalate? I need somebody who can actually help me," right? So no problem. Just hold on. Let me do a video chat. We're going to do a Zoom call. We can look at your desktop and see what's going on. And of course, the guy's on camera and he does not look like a Bob. Just saying, right? So he escalates to somebody else and we say, "Okay, cool. Like, my name is Samuel. What's your name?" And his name is Deepak. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, why is everybody's name Deepak? Like, even when I used to work at VMware, I had like 3 Deepaks, that I used to work with. One of my very good friends, who's happens to be a customer, his name is also Deepak. I can't keep track of all these Deepaks, man. I don't know. That's it's working through it.
So
Yeah,
I
working through it.
Oh, Matt, you're muted. I would say, Samuel, I would say you're working through it. and it is, this is exactly what we end up doing like every time, right? Is yeah, okay, so you heard it, right? And one thing that I'm doing now that I've been I've found really helpful is in that word economy conversation is to take what I say and have it transcribed by any one of the transcription services that we can all use now. And then I now that it's transcribed, I read through it and I find where I say something funny and I highlight that, like just the punchline I highlight. Then the next is just the punchline, where I would say a punchline and expect a laugh, that gets a highlight. And then I go and I just kind of try and do that without really, I try and negotiate with myself and go, no, that's funny. But I'm like, no, that's not a punchline, So anyways, so punchline. And then I go, okay, how far in between are these highlights? And what can I take out of the middle here that lead to a highlight?
It got wordy.
Yeah. So if you recall yesterday, my joke was about the cats in Puerto Rico. So it was pretty long. It was about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes for me to kind of get there. And I did an accent and everything like that. And that is one thing. But here's the word economy version of that. When a female cat wants to breed, she will make really loud noises to bring in as many possible males as she can. So you know what that means? All female cats are Puerto Rican. So that's the condensed version of that 1.5 minutes yesterday, right? Now, I'm not saying that I would want to, I think they're both valuable, right? So a story like you're telling, and the other thing that we all need to take into account is if we're trying to write a bit is different than trying to come up with something that is somewhat funny that you can share at work, or a story that you would share with friends. Because when you share a story with friends, you have much longer, they know you, they chuckle and laugh along with you, etc. When you're trying to do a comedy bit, that you don't have that luxury, right? But for what we're talking about, part of this is just about normal conversation, not necessarily about writing comedy bits. So take that all into account. I can use the little short bit if I had a something I just wanted to say real quick, or I just needed a 5 or a 10 second something, and maybe that gets fit in with others. Or I can keep working on the bigger bit, put in more jokes throughout the bigger bit, and then use that. And one is not better than the other, and both are tools and can be utilized somewhere potentially in a set. And it's just a matter of working through those. So anyways, so I think it's great work. I think keep working on it, and I'm excited to see what you bring tomorrow. All right, Tim, what do you got today?
Nice work, Sam. I brought this up on, I think, Monday or Friday last week. I took a flight last week, walking to the airport with my kids, my 2 youngest. There's so much that can be taken and put together as a set. It was amazing. So my perspective is sitting in the emergency seats is kind of what my focus is on this joke. And while I'm sitting on the plane, I actually picked up the safety pamphlet, the booklet, and I read through it, and then I copied it, and I'm going to memorize it because it's part of the joke, but I'm going to read it back to you. So in that safety pamphlet, for you to sit in the emergency seat, here's what you cannot lack. You cannot lack sufficient amount of mobility, strength, or dexterity in both arms or legs to help others. This includes not able to reach the exit quickly, operate the exit, and quickly pass through the exit. So basically what this means is you have to be somewhat of a U.S. Army Special Forces operator to man the exit. But the only assessment that you go through to be able to sit in the exit is, 1, you pay $100, and 2, they just simply ask you, are you prepared to carry out the duties of an exit Special Forces operator? And the response is, yeah, I could do that. To tie into that, and I will have to reward economy this, but I love it where they're asking us to do all these things, but at the same time, everybody struggles with timing, getting up and going to the lavatory before the beverage cart comes out, or getting up and going to the lavatory just in time where you're not getting caught by the beverage cart and pissing off the sky skank. right? Or this guy, the flight attendant. So, yeah, I'll have more tomorrow, but that's where I'm at.
All right. Okay. So one thing I thought, just as a maybe a point. So when you said the only like filtering, or the only test, I guess the only test you
Assessment.
have to pass, the only assessment you have to pass.
Right.
And so then I love the Skyscank thing, right? So the only assessment you have to pass is that when the Skyscank, who's going to bring you peanuts in about 5 minutes, asks you if you are ready, all you have to do is answer yes, or something like that, to bring in the fact that it's so absurd that just this woman, not even just that, oh, all I have to do is answer, but like this person who really doesn't care at all about you is going to ask you if you a yes no question.
Yeah, the same woman that told me that I need to put a Dixie cup over my face when we start losing air
Oh
pressure in the
man,
cabin.
going with the COVID. The same Skyscank Nazi that told you had to wear a face
A
mask
Dixie
when
cup.
you got on the
Yeah.
plane. Yeah.
And then it may or may not inflate. Like, well, come on, man. I need to
Right.
understand why it would inflate or wouldn't. You know, like,
Oh, you're talking about the oxygen mask when it drops down.
yeah.
May or may not inflate. That's funny. I didn't think about it. It may or may not inflate. What? So you may,
Gotta
or
mean
may not die.
something.
We're not sure. That's
Funny.
good. I hadn't thought about that. All right.
The other one too
PC.
on that, Tim,
Oh,
is
sorry.
like on Southwest, they tell you, hey, if you find your seat, enter the aisle while you put your bag in. I don't know about you, but that's actually not very easy to do, because you're kind of like, trying to do one of these things,
Yeah.
right? And so they can't do that, but they're supposed to operate the exit. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I
mean, and you walk up and down the plane after it's hit its altitude, and it looks like a gypsy camp. Like, everyone's got like their full house, like their laptop and their touchpad. Now you can plug in your devices to charge them. People mount their phones in the back of the seat that they're sitting behind. Like, if there's an emergency situation, and this is just going off experience, being in emergency situations, the amount of chaos and the amount of casualties we will sustain just getting to the end.
We all gonna die.
The amount of stuff that it's awful. I mean, it's awful to think about how horrifying that would end up being, trying to get everybody to the exit.
Yeah.
And then again, the only thing they're asking me, or the guy or girl left to right of me, you guys think you can do it? Yeah, we got this. So, all right, appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
I'll keep working on it.
All right, Mr. Campisi.
In our IT jobs and, what we do every day, we have a lot of, seems like stress and strain, having to change your platform or change your tool, right? When someone moves our IT stuff, we tend to take it very, very tough. But yeah, in our personal worlds, almost all of us have at least two cars, a Honda and a Toyota. Unless you're a Tesla owner. Tesla owners always have two of the same, maybe a black Model 3 and a white Model 3. But if you're like normal, you have a Honda and a Toyota. But if I go drive my kid's Toyota and I move to my Honda, like, I don't have this stress of having to change from that one platform to another. But yet, all of us, we're using Zoom, there's WebEx, there's Slack, there's Microsoft Teams. Why is there so much outward lack of critical thinking on finding the mute button? I mean, I know where the gas pedal is on the Toyota, on the Tesla, on the Honda, but yet when it translates into the IT world, we just like lose our brain. So I want to play around with that one.
I like it, dude.
Yeah.
I love hey, I'm oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yesterday the epic fail was I couldn't find the share button on Zoom. Now I use Zoom like only 10% of the time. My company doesn't standardize it, so I'm really good at the one tool that I use, like you guys, right? Your company standardizes on one, but yet couple times a week you're on, your partner's Zoom or on your Zoom or on the other platform, and then you lose your mind. You have zero critical thinking on how to share, how to mute, how to mess with the cameras. So this joke came about because of yesterday, my epic fail, which you recorded, Tim. So thank you. And yesterday, my daughter has her friend's car is being babysat in our front yard for the summer because he lives overseas. So I was driving it just to, keep it, from the battery dying. And I literally couldn't find the freaking cup holder. And I'm laughing. I'm like, how can I not find the cup holder? And I have the cup and it's stick shift. So I'm like, I have to put my drink down to find the cup holder, because it was one of these things where it was in the dashboard and you had to push the button and the cup holder magically gets ejected. So
Damn
I
BMWs.
Yeah, it was a BMW. Yeah.
Yep.
So I magically failed on switching platforms into a loaner BMW.
So I like you how you said, my company standardizes on a particular platform, right? And so I'm really good at that. But what you fail to realize is all the buttons are in the same place
Yeah.
all the other buttons are, right?
Yeah.
So I think you can that's the second level of that joke, right? Where it's like the share button is in the same row as all the other buttons. Like you just gotta pick one of 8, right? How hard can it freaking be, right?
Thank you. I'm writing it
That's
down.
good. I love the one car versus another. So I love that juxtaposition of those two things.
Ooh, juxtaposition.
Think about I'm able to shift from one car to another and drive both of them down the road at 95. I take these 5,000 pound, rockets and drive them at 95 miles an hour, through I maybe wouldn't say, but like through a school zone, right? Or I'm able to drive 95 miles an hour, through my neighborhood. But as soon as I switch from Teams to Zoom, all of a sudden I'm a grandma out for a Sunday stroll. Like, where's the button? And then maybe do an act out of a grandma, but that she's struggling with Zoom. So it's you're sort of flip-flopping back and forth between it.
Got it. I'm writing it down. Thank you. Great. Appreciate that, you guys.
Great
That
joke.
was good.
Yeah, it is. It's great insight. I love it. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining today. Thank you so much. Thank you to Tim Stevens, Matt Campisi, Samuel Hernandez. I'm Jerry Black. Have a great day.